to give you my water. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's good.
Like free men and women who don't want to live on a plantation no more.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Islam Today here on 900 AM WURD and also 96.1 on your FM dial. We got a really exciting, great show for you today. This is the type of show that you want to reach out to somebody and let them know that Islam Today is on their dial. We're streaming live on my Facebook page, Jihad Ahmed. We're also streaming live on Imam Shadeed Muhammad's Facebook page. Before we do anything, we like to open up with prayer. We pray and we ask Almighty God, Allah, to bless us. We pray now today can be a healing message to you, the listening audience. We like to make it very clear that this religion of ours, this religion of Islam, is a healing. We believe that this religion came to Prophet Muhammad, the last and final messenger to come to all mankind, be it the black people, the brown people, the green people, the red people, and yes, the white people. This religion of Islam is a healing for our people, be it economics, be it family life, be it entertainment, whatever it may be. We believe that this religion of Islam is a healing for our people. I just want to go through a few quick announcements before we get into the main topic that's going to be very good for you today, the listening audience. Last week I was blessed to attend a program that my good friend and his wife put on. It was entitled Daddyless Daughters and Fatherless Sons. This is they did it up on Germantown Avenue. So it was so nice that they thought to do it twice. It's going to take place again. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to take place again next Saturday, the 27th. I just lost where it was. Definitely, Girlfriends 365. Go to their Facebook page. Sister Sheena Shakora and Brother Muhammad Shakora. Go to their Facebook page. It's going to take place next week from 3 until 8. 3 until 8. 100 West Oxford Street. For more information, call them up at 215-456-4001. That's 215-456-4001. And just when I think about the topic, daddyless daughters and fatherless sons, you know, it made me think that, you know, if they do a part 3, I think definitely that they should have you there because the house was packed. And what I liked about it, it was a very well diverse community that was there. It was a lot of Muslims there. It was a lot of non-Muslims. And they were getting the message out about the absence of fathers in the homes and the impact that that can have on children. And that's going to really take us into this segue that we're going to discuss today. My guest today in the studio is definitely not a stranger to the city of Philadelphia and definitely not a stranger to the airways here. Islam Today here on 900 AM WURD and 96.1 FM. You know, a lot of times, family, we tend to talk about our children and them selling drugs and them using drugs, or maybe our young children having children out of wedlock. We never really touch on this topic right here, and I realize that it's a very sensitive topic. And myself and the Imam had this conversation just last Saturday, and he said to me, when I shared some stuff to him, that this is a topic that we needed to talk about in the community. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the airwaves. He's a writer, he's an author, he's a public speaker, and I like to say that he's beyond what I like to call the non-traditional religious imam or spiritual leader in the community. He's a well-rounded young brother, and I think he can sit at the table with the best of them and have the best dialogues and the best conversation. We welcome to the airways our brother, our Imam Shadeed Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, I didn't want to do a long, prolonged thing and go into what we talked about. People have been inboxing me all throughout the week saying, don't talk about it. Some people said we need to talk about it. Some people was inboxing me questions, and I hope to this evening we can be able to even entertain some of those questions that those people asked us. And I just want to start off by just telling the audience very quickly what the topic will be about today. And if you feel what I'm talking about, then you definitely can relate to this, that there is a big trend of, how can we put this, amongst our young African American, not just our men, but our young kids, our young girls as well. We have a ongoing thing of homosexuality within our community. It's very prevalent, and I think that what we do, it's something that I know for a fact that we don't hear it being talked about in the Muslim community, and it's something that's very much taking place in the Christian community. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And this brother right here that's in the studio talks to young people. He is one of those young imams that's in the community. He's not just at the minbar preaching and teaching on Fridays. He's also rolling up his thobe and rolling up his pants and shooting basketball with the young brothers too. So I definitely know that he's qualified to have this conversation with us today. So Imam, let's just jump right into it.
Okay, so alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. So let's look at the topic that you text me when we had the conversation, and you said, okay, well, what's the topic of the talk? And at the time I was in the car driving, and I couldn't get my thoughts together, and I said, well, let me hit you back. I'll get back to you with a topic. And as I'm scrolling through my mind, a lot of things is going through my mind as it relates to how to approach this topic. It's a very delicate situation. I myself have received emails, messages from parents who, just as early as 2 weeks ago, of parents, saying, how do I talk to my child about homosexuality or about, this alternative lifestyle that many of our teenage children are choosing, that are Muslims. These are Muslims born and raised in Islam. How do I have this discussion? A young sister, emailed me and said that, her niece, who she's raising, came home to her and said that, how would she feel about, her having a relationship with another girl? She said, and Muslim parents are not equipped, because the leadership is not talking about this. So I got back to you and I said that the title of the talk would be The Fault in Our Stars. Who's at fault when the Muslim children fail? And the reason why I chose that topic is because there was actually a movie. This is the title of a movie, The Fault in Our Stars. However, the movie is not my concern. The concept is my concern. The movie is based upon a quote from William Shakespeare's one of his plays. All right, in Romeo and Juliet and in Julius Caesar. This quote was made on a number of occasions. More importantly, in the Julius Caesar play. And he says, Brodus, the fault is not in our stars, but within us, all right, as human beings. And what that means is that during Shakespeare's time, during that period, he lived during the time of the Queen Elizabeth I. During that time, astrology was very prevalent, as it is today. And many people used to believe that their fate depended on the stars and, astrology and how everything is aligned. So they believed that their fate was aligned with the stars. All right. And that excluded human, fault or flaw or mistake, meaning any mistakes that you've made, you can blame it on how your star was aligned with, the rest of the stars in the sky. So basically, all of the responsibility would be off of you, and basically the fault would be in your star, meaning in your fate. When Shakespeare wrote this play, it was to counter that, because Aristotle, the famous philosopher Aristotle, he wrote a counter argument to that and saying that no, human choices, the choices that we make as human beings, plays a part in our fate. And Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar kind of alludes to that fact. So why am I using this? Why am I bringing this into our dialogue? Why am I bringing this into a predominantly Islamic discussion? Simply because in the Islamic community, we defer to the qadr. We defer to Allah's, fate, Allah's destiny, divine preordainment, as the excuse for, or as the answer to all of the problems that we're having. So we're basically excluding, our responsibility and our subsequent accountability for the decisions that are made in our communities. I'll give you an example. I remember being, heavily affiliated with the Salafi, the hardcore Salafi community, and people would leave the Salafi community and brothers would say, well, that is a proof or that is a sign that Allah didn't want good for him. All right? Totally overlooking all of the things that led up to that person deciding that they did not want to be a Muslim. No one decides to be a Muslim and then decides later on, a short period of time after that, not to be a Muslim or not to be a practicing Muslim simply by fate. Right? There were things that led up to that. And, quite naturally, we could never say that it is our fault for chasing a person away from Islam, because then that would mean that our entire doctrine is flawed. This doctrine that we beat everybody over the head with to make them believe that we are, the most perfect, the most model Muslims. You understand what I'm saying? So we could never say that we were part responsible for this person leaving Islam, because then that would mean that there's flaws in our doctrine. So we have to put everything on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want good for that person. That's why they left Islam. We do it with our marriages. We break up and then we say, brothers will find a nice, cool way to say that this is not working. So we'll say, it's the qadr of Allah. Allah decided, Allah, preordainment was that we were not destined to be together. No, you got to look at the part that you played leading up to that divorce. The emotional neglect, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, and all of those things. So you're going to exclude all of those things. And this is what we are famous for doing in the Islamic community. We take zero responsibility, zero accountability for the things that lead up to the catastrophic repercussions of the actions that we do as Muslims, and how that has a ripple effect on our children. So this is one of the reasons why I chose that, because somebody has to be accountable. If our children decide, one of the Muslim children decide to become a homosexual, to become a lesbian, to adopt an alternative lifestyle, we cannot just say simply that it was that person's choice and just completely exclude, the dysfunction of the Muslim community, the neglect of the leadership in the community. We can't exclude that from that person's choices. I'm sure it has something to do with it. I'm almost positive it does. But we like to say, well, this is the qadr of Allah. This was the person's choice. That was their choice. That was their decision. Okay, but what did we do to help contribute to that? When you say to me that a young brother, a young sister decides to become a homosexual, to adopt an alternative lifestyle, my first question is, where did we go wrong? How did we fail these children? How is this child, born and raised Muslim? We made dua for the child, called the adhan in the ear, write the date on his gum. We had the aqiqah for him. We did all of these things, right? Following the sunnah. And then 15, 16, 17 years later, this child decides, to be in an alternative lifestyle, to be in a same-sex relationship with someone, let alone marrying them. And you have to tell me, and you're going to tell me that the Islamic community, that the parents, the environment, none of that played a part in that? No, we share in some of that responsibility. Our religion, the religion of Islam, is a religion of responsibility and accountability. Nothing in our religion is just left to fate. There is responsibility and then there's accountability. Let me give you some examples. Okay. All right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, says in the Quran, or let me just start with using the Arabic language, because we have a lot of so-called learned people, learned Muslims out there that really profess to know Islam in and out, but still can't give you a clear explanation for why these things are happening in our communities. So the word for responsibility in Arabic is called mas'uliyah. Mas'uliyah. Mas'uliyah, although it means responsibility in the Arabic language, if you look at the root of the word mas'ul, su'al, all of those letters, the three root letters to that word, sin, alif, lam, sa'ala, which means to ask, mas'ul, which means you were the one that was asked, and mas'uliyah, which is a responsibility, but it also, a derivative from that word is accountability. That you are accountable. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-Imam Ra'in wa huwa mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi, that the Imam of the community, he is a Ra'in, he is a shepherd, and he is responsible for his flock. Wa mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi, and he will be asked, he will be questioned about his flock. The Imam, you will be questioned about your flock. You are not without responsibility. He said, وَالرَّجُلٌ رَاعٍ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ, that the man is a shepherd and he will be asked about his family. He is responsible and subsequently accountable for your family and how you ran your family. We can't say that our child decides to adopt an alternative lifestyle and we're free from blame. There's no accountability on our part. And the thing, as I said to you before, we, especially here in the city of Philadelphia, we are having our children in Jawala Scouts at a very early age. And we even talked about, even just some of the, strategies. And this is not a shot at Jawala Scouts. I love the Jawala Scouts. I love the concept, the idea. But then we have to look at the instructors. And are the instructors model Muslims to be able to carry that message of responsibility onto those children? In addition to that, the more rigid and approaches to trying to build what we believe is manhood, making them do push-ups on their knuckles and all of these different things. And while I believe that there's some of that could be justified, but I mean, is brutal strength just our idea of what manhood is about? What about being responsible? What about paying bills? What about knowing how to apply for a job? What about running your own business? What about being an entrepreneur? And these things are not being taught. You understand? And there's nothing that can save a kid from jail or an alternative lifestyle than a job.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Right. Money solves a lot of problems, man, that we have in our communities. A lot of Muslim children are sitting in jail right now simply because they did not have a job. They had no income. They had no way to earn money. And so therefore, when you couple adolescence along with free time, you got a disaster.
Well, let me say this to you. Without going into people's names and stuff like that and not putting people out there, that's not the purpose of this show today. When we have gay young boys that are, how can you put it, within our community, and then the people who the young brothers have grown up with. They've grown up in our community. They've been part of our Jawala Scouts. They've been part of our community. They've been part of all of the activities that we have had in our community. When it comes out that he or she is now part of that lifestyle, as leaders in the community and as parents, what position should we as a community take with that young brother, that young sister? Do we cast them away? Because I had a conversation with my son about particular situations. And my son said, well, if so-and-so is part of that lifestyle, I know that I know that God ain't going to forgive him. And I told him that. And this is what our young children are telling the young Muslims that want to live this lifestyle. So we as a community, where do we go with them?
Where do we go?
How do you embrace that young brother? How do you embrace that young sister? Because stories that I have heard, allegedly, I don't know if it's true, that we have young Muslim brothers and sisters that have not only adopted to live that lifestyle, but they are also getting married. They're taking on the responsibility and saying, now, I don't want to be married to a woman,
Right.
I want to be married to a man. And we know that this is something that is not part of our faith. We know that this is something that really, in all actuality, that in the olden days,
It's not a part of anybody's
it's not
faith.
a part of nobody's
It's not
faith.
a part of any faith.
And it's something that, if you remember back in the day when we looked at TV, let's go back to like an old show, Blondie and Dagwood. They didn't even sleep in the same bed together and showed you that on TV. It wasn't until the Brady Bunch came on TV that you actually saw a man and a woman in the bed together on TV. Fast forward to where we are now, 2018. It's all the way, as the young people say, lit. This is
Right.
the word that they use. So back to the question, as a community, what do we do? I'm a young brother,
I mean,
and I'm a homosexual, and I
the-
say to you, Imam, I'm gay. I like men. You can tell me this hadith, the Prophet, peace and blessings, said that. Allah says this, the scholars say that. I say, Imam, I like men. Imam, I want to sleep with men. Imam, I want to marry that man. Or I say, Imam, I got married.
Okay, so twofold. Let's because that's obviously a more an adult, consenting adult. We're talking. Let's look at our children who are in high school, who are being exposed to this or having exposure to that, because that's the starting place. Once it gets to that point where a person has now said that, this is my lifestyle, gay pride, I'm proud of who I am. I'm going to marry this person. This person has left the fold of Islam. Not because they're gay, not because they've chosen an alternative lifestyle, but because they have made something that Allah clearly made haram halal. That is what puts them outside of the fold of Islam. So the person is no longer, this is, in my view, in my opinion, the person is not even a Muslim. So there's really nothing to talk about. When the person has said that I am okay with this lifestyle, not like a child who was molested, who was forced into this type of lifestyle because of poor choices, poor decision. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we have to be careful who we leave our children with. You have women who are marrying brothers, who are complete strangers to their children and leaving their children home with these individuals. And, we have many cases where daughters have been molested, boys have been molested. All right, and then they decide to, adopt that lifestyle. Not because they believe it's permissible. They know that it's still haram, but they engage in the behavior because they're sexually conflicted. They're conflicted. They don't know what to do. They need counseling. They need help. They need assistance to help them navigate through the emotions and, the plethora of, feelings that they're experiencing because of those experiences. That's something different. And our children need to be more sensitive to that. Because if you're in high school with a kid and the kid decides, hey, I'm a boy, but I'm going to have a relationship with this boy, and we shun them at that stage, we may actually be creating a situation later for them to adopt that lifestyle. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to teach our children that children are not gay by nature. There are circumstances, there are environmental circumstances, there are familial circumstances, there are things that have been done to those children that cause them to be conflicted. And if our children shun them in school and because, they might just be tampering with it. They're just dabbling in it. And it's not like they sold on it. They just want to experience with it because of things that were done to them.
Yes.
And our children need to be sensitive to that. But as for an adult, a consenting adult that says, I want to marry this person or I want to be in a relationship with this person, after you've explained to the person that it's haram and this is against our religion, and the person has clearly made this something that is permissible for them, then they have left the fold of Islam. This is what is called istihlal. Istihlal is to take something that Allah made haram and you make it halal. I'll give you an example. The Prophet ﷺ, one of his companions, Adi ibn Hatim, he was a Christian who converted to Islam. All right? And once he converted, the Prophet made a statement where he said that, the Christians, they took their monks and their high priests as their gods besides Allah. And so Adi ibn Hatim, he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he said that as Christians, we didn't worship our scholars. We didn't worship our priests. And the Prophet ﷺ said, didn't they make halal what Allah made haram and make haram what Allah made halal and you followed them in that? He said, yes. He said, then that was your worship of them. That was your worship of them. That is shirk fi ta'ah. This is your idolatry as it relates to your obedience. That you're being obedient to someone who has made something haram that Allah made halal, or made something halal that Allah made haram. So they don't leave the fold of Islam because they adopt an alternative lifestyle. All right? Muslims are not non-Muslims because they decide to have a same-sex relationship. They become non-Muslims when they say that having a same-sex relationship is permissible. That is what puts them outside of the fold of Islam. So if someone came to me and said, I want to marry this person, after I explained to the person that this is, antithetic to our religion, this is the antithesis to morality, and that if you do this, this will put you outside of the folds of Islam, and the person still considers this to be okay for them, then there's no more discussion. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing else for us to talk about. To you be your way, and to me be mine. Lakum dinukum waliya din. To you is your religion, and to me is my religion. Because make no mistake about it, adopting an alternative lifestyle is a religion. It's a faith system. It's not just you, a man, sleeping with another man, or you're a woman sleeping with another woman. There is a belief that is behind that is fueling that behavior. You understand? So when, Muslims, and this is important for our children that are in universities and colleges, and they, because of the dysfunction, Islamic communities, they don't really have anything, any entities, any organizations to get behind and to put their skill sets to good use. So they go to universities and colleges and they get behind these organizations like Black Lives Matter, like LGBTIQ community, and this community and that community, and they want to use, they want to use that energy, but you have to understand that, these organizations, their belief systems conflict. It's not just you being involved with an organization and you putting your skill set to use. You are involved with an organization that is founded on beliefs. You understand? Even sororities and fraternities, they have belief systems that are contradictory to what we believe as Muslims. And you have to be aware of that. This is not just me being involved with this organization or me being you have Muslims who say that they're Masons. How are you a Muslim and a Mason? You understand? Being a Mason, you have to accept certain beliefs. This is a brotherhood. You understand what I'm saying? That contradicts the brotherhood of Islam. So this is not just you being involved or affiliated with some type of organization. These organizations are founded or rooted in beliefs that contradict the beliefs that we have as Muslims.
A lot of questions that people were inboxing me, and they were saying that, when you have a child when they're young, and you may have a child that may be a little, let's just say, sensitive than the other child. And other people were saying to me, well, he or she was born that way.
Right.
So my comeback to them is like, well, okay, if that's what you believe and you want to say that God made a mistake, then I'm going to challenge you on that and say that how could the creator of the heavens and the earth make a mistake like that?
No, they were born that way, but not because of God, because of the choices of the parents. Understand something. I put the post on my Facebook page yesterday, 2 days ago, that they did a study. Research has proven that third-generation rats that were fed genetically modified food prove sterile. That means all of the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Popeyes, all of this genetically modified food that we are putting into our system while we are pregnant with these children. Some of these fruits, these vegetables, for all of you guys that say you're vegans, but you're vegans, but you're not eating organic vegetables, homegrown, like from the local farmers. You understand what I'm saying? Like, just being a vegan is not enough, because they're spraying this stuff with pesticides, and a lot of these pesticides, a lot of the genetically modified, foods and fruits and vegetables, these things have hormones in them. The pesticides, they have hormones in them. So you understand, a lot of the foods and the snacks that we eat, these little Debbie cakes, these corner store snacks, a lot of them have soy in it. Soy is high in estrogen. So now you're wondering why your little boy at 3-4 years old starts to show signs of femininity in his walk, in his talk, in his movements. Because we are feeding these children while they are in our wombs, while they are in the wombs of our wives and our mothers. We are feeding these children foods that the elements of these foods, the ingredients of these foods begin to break down the normal makeup, the normal design of the child. So now we say that he was born this way, she was born this way. You damn right they were born that way because of you, not because of God. You understand? God don't make any mistakes. The angel already sent down at 120 days when the soul is blown into the fetus. The angel is already there to write down your gender, who you are, what's to come to you in your life, how long your life is going to be. Everything is already written for you. God don't make mistakes. You, as the human being, you make mistakes. And these are the things that we are contributing to. So when the child says they were born that way, you concur. But with an explanation. Yes, the child was born that way because of you, not because of God. You fed your children genetically modified agents that begin to break down, that begin to introduce, estrogen and hormones into boys and begin to make the females masculine, breaking down their femininity by introducing, testosterone into the women. Yes, absolutely. Look at what's happening here. So by the third generation, okay, my children's children, right? If we continue to feed them genetically modified food, and this is why a lot of women are, having a hard time producing children, right? It's not as easy as it was before. This is why a lot of men, having unprotected sex with a lot of women and the women still not getting pregnant, right? It's not that she took a pill or whatever the case may be. The genetically modified foods that we're eating, they have agents in them that attack the male sperm. It attacks the male sperm. So the sperm is not as strong and the sperm count is not as it used to. There was a time when one male ejaculation would be enough to populate the entire world of women. Millions and millions of sperm cells. And now the sperm count is weaker, is lower because of the genetically modified agents that are in the food that we're eating. So when the children are born and at 2-3 years old, he starts to show signs of, femininity, or the girl, she starts to show signs of being a boy. Shoulders are broad, the neck is thick, the jaw. And I mean, like, for those of you who are out here sleeping around with men and women today, and I'm talking about Muslims who know better, you better understand what's happening here, because you might end up in bed with someone who's a transvestite. You understand?
Ooh.
You might end up in bed with a tranny, and you would never even know. You would never even know that the person was a tranny if they didn't tell you that. You would never even know.
Now we got a lot of questions that are popping up on Facebook Live. We got some callers.
I'm keeping it 100 with you guys, man. This is not our religion. Was sent to us to preserve human life. What is natural will only reproduce itself. Which is why natural foods, natural fruits and vegetables, they have seeds in them. Where the hell you get seedless grapes from? Where the hell do you get seedless watermelons from? Seedless, pitless dates. You understand what I'm saying? They're selling this stuff in the store. What is natural will reproduce itself. You eat a watermelon that has seeds, you throw the seed on the ground, and it's watered properly. The ground is fertile. It will reproduce itself. What is unnatural will destroy itself, which is why male on male and female on female relationships are haram in our religion, because it stops the population. This is another way to control population. We don't,
Hold that thought.
And that's a whole nother discussion.
The Imam he's on fire today. So what I want to do, I want to be fair to the people who've called up, but I need you to keep your questions or your comments very short. If you can't keep it short, I will have to cut you, please. Okay, let's go to the first caller, Dave. Who that? I can't understand your writing, but who was it? Go ahead.
I couldn't understand his.
Okay, put him through. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the show. Hello, going once, going twice, next. Let's go to brother.
The name you don't know who you are. Lethargic?
Yeah. Lethargic, welcome to the show.
Lethargic. Okay.
Lethargic's gone. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to brother Jacob. And not only brother Jacob, so only can welcome to the show. Thank you.
One thing I know as a Muslim, taking Shahada about 44 years, praise the Lord. The same God that made me is their God also. I know that. And I know I read Allah's book, and it says, do we think we'd be less alone saying we use cannot be tested? And he also said we should be tested with wealth, poverty, our family, right, et cetera, et cetera. And again, his mercy about Muslims that do that. And I've seen a Sahaba be real distressed, but I remind them that for one, there's no compulsion. So Allah says. And that I remember telling the sister, Allah said that the only sin that he won't forgive on the day of judgment, right?
Yes.
That we have given him a partner. Now, what if the gay or lesbian Muslim pray 5 times a day? Can I say for a fact that Allah won't accept their prayers and give them mercy?
Thank you for your call, Brother Jacob.
All right, so Brother Jake's question, good question. He said, for the Muslims who adopt an alternative lifestyle, choose consciously, consentingly as an adult to be gay or lesbian, can we say that emphatically God will not forgive them? It's not my place or anyone else's place to decide who God is going to forgive and who he's not. I don't even know why that is a conversation amongst human beings. That is of an entirely different level that is above our pay grade. We are not on that level to discuss who God is going to forgive and who God is not going to forgive. That's not my concern. My only concern is God going to forgive me? That's my chief concern. Is God going to forgive me? I could care less whether God is going to forgive anybody else. And that's not a discussion for us to say who God is going to forgive and who God is not going to forgive. We don't know. I mean, the environment that we live in, the environment that we live in is permeating with this, with this disease of homosexuality, of alternative lifestyle. It's permeating in this society. So we don't know this. And maybe some people who, although we shun them and although we make it clear that what they are doing is not a part of our religion, but who knows what God will do with them later on. God may forgive them. It's equivalent to what we say to Muslims when we find out someone has committed suicide. Oh, that is a person that's going to the hellfire. And, as I mentioned in a lecture, a couple of weeks ago, that there's an authentic hadith collected in Sahih al-Bukhari where one of the Sahaba killed himself. And one of the Sahaba saw him in a dream and he asked him, what did Allah do to him? And he said, Allah forgave him. And, Allah punished his hands for using his hands to kill himself. And when the man narrated the story to the Prophet ﷺ, Allah said, may Allah forgive him entirely, including his hands. Meaning that the Prophet ﷺ prayed for the guy, prayed for his forgiveness. While we sit here and condemn a person because of a sin that they committed or a sin that they died upon, the only sin that Allah will not forgive is the sin of associating partners with him. As for a person adopting an alternative lifestyle and then dying upon that, Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best what's going to be his fate or her fate in the hereafter. It's not my place or your place or anyone else's place to say who God is going to forgive and who God is not going to forgive. That within itself is a God complex for you to decide who God is going to forgive. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned a hadith of 2 men that were arguing, and one said to the other one, Allah is never going to forgive you. And Allah says, this is a hadith al-Qudsi, Allah says, Men alladhi yata'ala alayya an la aghfiru li fulan inni kad ghafartu lahu wa la aghfiru lak. That who is it that puts himself as a God before me to say that I won't forgive such and such? Indeed, I have forgiven them and I don't forgive you. That's not our place, man. That's not our place.
Now, we got a lot of people that's chiming in on Facebook. And the questions are just very, very overwhelming. So one thing that I'm going to do, I have another platform that will be taking place in February. I cannot announce it on here, but stay connected to my social media page. I want to do like a 2-hour session with Imam Shadeed Muhammad and others on this topic alone. I want to see if we can go back to the phone line. We got Hannibal, who's in North Philly, has been waiting very patiently. Brother Hannibal, welcome to the show.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, my brother. I've been in conversations with a very good friend, Imam Shadeed Muhammad. Anyway, he's been educating me about Islam. I was wondering if one day he could be invited to the show.
Sure thing. Thank you. Sure thing. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I'll text you my number, and that way we can stay in contact. Dave, let's just go to the next caller. This is a very good conversation. If you'd like to join us in the studio, the telephone number is 215-634-8065, 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. Our guest live in the studio is Imam Shadeed Muhammad, and we have Imam Tariq. Imam Tariq, Assalamu alaikum. You got 30 seconds, brother. We running out of time. 30 seconds. Thank you, Brother Tarek. I got to jump to the next caller. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Abdul Qadir. Abdul Qadir in Kansas. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show, brother. 30 seconds. Yes. Yes.
I think most importantly, we need fathers to be in the homes. We need fathers to be in the homes. We need men to be in the homes. There is very few situations wherein there's a real father in the home, active, on-duty father in the home, and the boy turns out to adopt an alternative lifestyle. Boys learn how to be men through mimicking what they see other men do. If there's no man in the house and all he sees is his mom and his mom's sisters, his aunts, his aunties, and his grandmother, and all of them are feeding into this, this emotional neediness, then obviously we are setting the child up for a path wherein that may seem appealing. But if there's no father in the home or active father in the home, this is where I'm not looking at adopting homosexuality or lesbianism as a lifestyle, as the choice of the child. I'm saying let's get to the root of that and let's catch it before it actually begins. So let's start eating healthy. Let's start eating healthy. Let's start being more conscious, health conscious about the stuff that we're putting into our bodies. The soy that many of our women are digesting in their systems. All right, let's start being more conscious about the food that we're digesting. Let's start being more conscious about, the types of people that we're marrying and that we're bringing, predators that we're bringing into our homes that corrupt our children. Let's stop being hypocritical and sending our children to the Jawala Scout, to the Islamic schools, and then we pick them up listening to music. We pick them up with our pants sagging. We pick them up after just having a relationship with a woman or a man that we had no business being in a relationship with. How in the world can we expect to have success with our children when our entire lifestyle is contradictory to the life that we're trying to introduce our children to? I mean, like, I've worked at them. I've seen Muslim parents come pick their children up from school. You blasting music. Your children been learning Quran all day long, memorizing Quran all day long, Islamic studies, all of these other things, praying while they're in the masjid, and only to have a parent come pick them up, blasting music, get home. The parent doesn't even care whether or not the child prays or not. The child is witnessing the parent engage in, relationships and conversations with people that they shouldn't be. We're sending mixed messages to our children.
What are some of the things that, as a community, as a whole, I know we said that, fathers need to be in the home, but we have a lot of sisters and they're not married. And one thing I like about this dialogue right here, that I think that the things that you're saying is very applicable to both the Islamic community, for sure, and as well as the non-Muslim community, because we have a lot of non-Muslim females that are tuning in right now.
Absolutely.
And they're not Muslim, and they don't got a man at home. So I think right now people just looking for practical solutions that they can, practical answers that they can put their hands around. So give us advice as a whole. What can we do as a community to help these young brothers and sisters that are living this lifestyle, that have chose this to be their lifestyle?
I think, for the children, as here again, separating the consenting adult from the children who have these conflicting thoughts about, whether they're male or female, having, this gender confusion that they, and if the child does not have parents at home that are having conversation with them about these things, there's a lot of times we leave room for Shaitan to come in and manipulate their minds and, make what is evil fair seeming. That's what Shaitan does. He comes to you, or yuzayyinu lahum a'malahum, and he beautifies your deeds to you. So if there's no one there to counter those thoughts that Shaitan is there whispering to the child, right? The child is already being exposed. No matter where we go. We could be in a mall, right? We could be in a mall and you walking with your kids and you see two men holding hands. You see two women kissing. This is the environment that we live in. All right. So number one, we have to be, aware of the environment we live in. And when we see these things, we got to be able to counter those things with conversations, real substance-filled conversations that help our children process what they're seeing. The music that our children are listening to. They're listening to music that is infused with these beliefs, these ideologies. And because music is haram and we don't listen to music, and yes, it is haram. I hold that music is haram wholeheartedly. But at the same token, that still does not stop you as a parent of being aware of what your child is listening to and be able to have that discussion with them. Sometimes it might be good to just unplug your child's headphones, the Beats by Dre that we bought them. We bought them the Beats by Dre, all right? And what you think you were buying them the Beats by Dre so they could listen to lectures? You bought them the Beats by Dre knowing that full well that they were going to listen to music. So sometimes it might help to just unplug the headphone and let it blast on the speaker and see, I want to hear what you're listening to. And then be able to have a conversation with the child, because the child is just going with the trend, going with the flow, and no real conversation is happening with the child. Changing our lifestyle in terms of our eating, changing our environments. If you're living in environments in some of the slums in the urban areas, in urban is just a political word for slum in the hood, and we live in some of these environments in Philadelphia, move. Why are we so afraid to move? Many of our grandparents, many of our parents were on Section 8, were on, housing and all of these other things, and they were staying put. They weren't moving anywhere because they were benefiting from those vouchers, benefiting from Section 8, benefiting from all of that stuff. The thing about it is that something my wife said to me on the way here is so profound. She said that in this generation, many children, many people are becoming entrepreneurs because our president is an entrepreneur. Our president is a president who built his empire off of entrepreneurship skills, building his own brand, building his own. This is not a praise of Trump, but what I'm saying is that begins to affect the people that he is governing. So when you look on Instagram now, you look on Facebook, businesses are popping up all over the place. You understand what I'm saying? And this is how we have to begin having effect on our children. Involving them in things that are meaningful, that are purposeful, that give their lives purpose. These are practical things. And I mean, there's not enough time to have this full blown out conversation, but
we're going to tackle it again. A little bit later on, we're going to tackle it again. Out of all the questions that we had on Facebook Live, I want to be able to just pull out one. And this is from Craig Palmer. He said, lifestyle is a choice. I'm still waiting on the biological aspect of homosexuality the brother talked about. Then he later on said, see, you said it's a choice. How is it biological? If that makes sense to you.
It's biological because the foods that we digest, the foods that we eat we are genetically modified human beings, period. Which means that the organisms that we are ingesting into our body, a lot of these foods, all right, especially the meats that are not organic, they have, they have elements that go into our body and that are triggered by cell phone radiation, cell phone, microwaves. All of these things trigger some of these, organisms that we're carrying in our bodies. We carrying worms. We are hosts for a lot of things, from meats and fruits and vegetables and the genetically modified stuff. When it comes in contact with our system, it begins to mess up our natural biological dynamic. You understand? And then, of course, you factor in radiation, from just one cell phone call, holding your cell phone up to your ear, the radiation, the amount of radiation from this phone into your head. You don't think that the radiation triggers a lot of the organisms that we are carrying around in our bodies? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see that they put this stuff in movies? You see the movie Kingsman, where just one cell phone call could just ignite a person and turn a person into a complete animal. You understand? This stuff is real. This stuff is not put into movies haphazardly. It's not put there for entertainment. This is hidden in plain sight. They're telling you what's happening, but because we refuse to educate ourselves, we become victims, and our children become victims. And if you're okay with digesting, GMO food, if you're okay with, having Wi-Fi systems in your home that run all night long, and you got radiation, your whole entire house is permeating with radiation, and you're wondering why you're going through so many different moods. In 1 hour, you can be sitting at home on your cell phone, and you can go through 5 different mood swings. And you don't think that the radiation that your whole house is permeating with has any impact on the change in your mood? You don't think that the foods that you're eating has any change? Eat a hamburger from McDonald's and look at how your demeanor changes, because it's not meat. It's genetically modified food. It's not even safe to call it food.
Dr. Wesley Muhammad out of, I believe he's out of either Detroit or Chicago. He did some research, and I like to paraphrase some of the stuff that he's been preaching and teaching on social media. He's saying that from his research, he believes that the government are injecting our youth to be able to go to this lifestyle.
Through the food. Think about our children eat school lunch every single day. The school lunch that they eat is genetically modified. A lot of it comes out of a can. A lot of it comes out of a box that has been stored somewhere in a pantry somewhere, and our children are eating this food for how many days is the school year? 280 days within a 365-day period. You understand what I'm saying? 200 and however long the school year is, 211 days. Out of 365 days, our children are digesting this food every single day. And then when our children come home one day and say, I decided I want to be with a man or I want to be with a girl, then we're, blowing our wig trying to figure out why.
Well, we absolutely ran out of time. We took it all the way down to the last minute of the show, something that I normally don't do. So what we want to do, we want to definitely continue this conversation. Stay tuned to Imam Shadeed Muhammad's social media platform. Stay tuned to my platform, because I'm going to give you a date and I'm going to have him on another program. We're going to talk about this more in depth with more time. You've been listening to Imam Shadeed Muhammad and Brother Jihad Ahmed. Very quickly, give our listening audience your contact information. We got like 20 seconds left.
You can catch me on Facebook, Imam Shadeed Muhammad /Rolda admin on Facebook. You can catch me on Twitter, Shadeed_M76 on Twitter, as well as Periscope and all of the other. Just type in Shadeed and you'll find, as well as my YouTube channel, www.rolda, RAWDAH. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, Jihad, and our listening audience for chiming in on this discussion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to implement what we've learned today. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira.
Assalamu alaikum.